On caging results, May was not a great month, adding to a few not great months, although there are some factors going into this. Revenue was down 13%. A lot of this, because we're getting caging results, is due to decreased mailing. And so Carolyn will talk a little bit about that in a second. So Becky, like you said, average gift up slightly, but the number of donations and the number of donors down. Kind of continuing, we had that continual downward trend going into COVID, the COVID bubble, and now we're back. We've, I think, reverted to the pre-pandemic trend. There were a few sectors that were up, not in huge ways, but up is up is up. But of the organizations that we looked at for which we had 2 solid years of results, 71 organizations up, 106 organizations down. And the organizations were down by more than the organizations that were up. So not wholly good news. Some of this entirely explicable. For example, international relief. Russia didn't invade anyone this year. They just continued the invasion that they had. And so international relief that was raising significant Ukraine funding in the first half of last year, there's going to be a significant year-over-year drawdown. And I know from talking with the folks who are doing the law enforcement accounts, a lot of those folks have pulled back almost entirely on mailing. And so that's factors going in there, but it is not pleasant, generally speaking.
So Nick, can I ask a question about that?
Yes, absolutely.
Is this mail only?
This is mail only.
Okay. Okay.
Looking to try to gather some of the more omni-channel framework. This is data from More RMG and from Aegis Caging. So it's about half of the sector's mail results. We are trying to get digital results as well, but don't have them in this presentation, unfortunately. Response rates down in mail pretty uniformly. Only a couple of sectors, public broadcasting, domestic hunger, that had positive variance year over year. Average gift, more of a mixed bag. But that is the mail side of things. I know that digital is doing slightly better, but the folks that are doing better in digital, from talking with our digital folks, are the people who are investing more. And that's not a shock, you know, that people are succeeding at the digital treadmill, but are the speeds going up on the treadmill, and you're having to run faster and faster to stay in the same place.
Yeah.
Let me kick it over to Carolyn to talk about U.S. Postal Service. Carolyn?
I'm Carolyn Angelini from the Production Solutions division. So just a little bit, I wanted to share some mail volume decline. This is not representative of nonprofit mail or mail within more. These are USPS stats. So since the beginning of the year, the Postal Service has seen decline in overall mail volume. These are market dominant rates. So it's the rates that most commercial mailers leverage. So overall in April, down almost 15%, and year to date over 8%. They're also seeing figures close to this for first class mail as well. So the messaging from the post office to commercial mailers really is that this is likely due to fatigue in direct mail results and not a result of their twice a year increases. So the industry is obviously in a position right now to counter that, to say, hey, that it's a blend of reasons why mail results and mail volume are down, but you're driving it in this direction with the continuing increases twice a year that we're realizing. So if your mail volume is down, it might be up, but if it's down, this is the overall trend across the country. And then in the next slide, everyone's aware that we have a postal rate change upcoming on Sunday, July 9th. And before I go into this, do we have any questions about that upcoming rate change? I went ahead and really wanted to share projections over the next couple of years. So under the current rate making structure, Postal Service has the ability to change rates twice a year, and using the factors in which they can adjust those rates, these are the best guesses that we have in terms of the forecast. I have them broken out in terms of first class mail and USPS marketing mail letters. That's primarily what nonprofits and most nonprofit mailers are using. We also leverage flats very often. And if you are mailing a flat, you'll see those increases are higher than the other averages. And that's the trend that we've had over several years. I predict that'll be the trend upcoming.
Yes, I was calling because we are putting our dog down.
Especially heavyweight flats. So just an update around that. And then now I would say, there's a lot of things going on in the industry to kind of counter and speak to these increases. So if you're a proponent and a lineup with a few of the industry groups like the TNPA and those type of sorts, then they're going to be trying to lobby for countering these continuing increases. So I would recommend staying close with them, and then obviously, with your more counterparts. I hope everybody here is taking part in the USPS promotions. That is a way to balance out these rate changes. This year, this is a calendar for this year. We're just about to kick off the informed delivery promotion. Registration starts tomorrow. So think about it like this. A lot of the rates for July are going up 5 to 6%. A lot of these promotions offer 3, 4, and 5% discounts. So taking advantage of the promotions is a great way to offset these increases. Does require a little bit more effort, but it's going to give you an ability to stay in the mail. Any questions on the promotions? I included the 2024 calendar. I will say that, promotions are part of the USPS rate making system now. It's not just a nice to do, nice to have. I encourage everybody to take advantage of them. And next year, mailers will have the ability to take advantage of a discount all 12 months out of the year, which is the first time that's happened. Any questions on these? Back to you, Nick.
A couple of comments that if the mail volume is decreasing for nonprofits at the same rate as what you presented at the very beginning, that's a large explanation for why caging results would be down the way they are. Second, and this is probably obvious to those on the call, but not to the USPS, it's really odd for an organization to say, you are using our product too much and paying us too much money, which is what the USPS is saying when they're saying there is mail fatigue. And even if there was mail fatigue, people wouldn't be mailing less if the costs weren't going up. They're saying it's less profitable, and that's really not helpful messaging. And so we're trying to work within the USPS. They say, oh, to Carolyn's point, these are parts of the promotion calendar. This is a part of the rate making process now, but rates compound and promotions don't. And so it's not that they're raising rates for the second time this year. It's that they're raising them for the 4th time in 2 years. And next year they'll have raised them 6 times in 3 years. So that said, Production Solutions and those folks are really good at squeezing the costs out of packages. And so these promotions are really good techniques as well, and we're happy to work with you on any of those. And then, do we have our more digital folks on today? Okay, then I will be presenting this. One of the questions that folks had on last month's call, as you heard at the top, we're always asking for what topics you want to hear about, and someone said AI and machine learning, and happy to talk about that. This is a particular passion of mine. we're CDR, one of our agencies did some work on paid social AI testing. Can they use, specifically, can you use AI to predict which ads will perform the best? So let's take our image, let's take our creative and run it through, they ran it through Genus AI and through Bard, the Microsoft version, and said, which of these will be the best ads to put out there? And it's like, man, if we can use this for testing without having to do live testing, boy, wouldn't that be great? We're not there yet. And in fact, those of you who are Seinfeld fans may remember the Costanza method of doing the opposite. Bard, in both campaigns, rated the actual best ad campaign as the worst campaign. They said that the repair homes ad is cluttered and the message is not very clear. The visuals are also not very engaging. And that was the actual best ad. And this was all back testing. It was going in and putting in what's there. Genus did slightly better. It only rated the best ad as the worst ad once, but it never identified the best ad. So going in and saying to a language model, hey, tell me if this is going to perform, it's not going to perform. That's not going to work right now. And the reason for that, in my mind, at least, you may have your own thoughts on this and would love to hear them, but a large part of this is training data. One of the lines I frequently use is, if you ask AI to generate you a letter, it will generate, its goal is to generate for you the most letter that ever lettered. It's not trying to create a good letter, it's trying to find the platonic ideal of what a letter is. Similarly, if you look at these results, Bard and Genus haven't been fed results. They don't know what a good ad is. They just know how to create an ad. And some of those ads work, and we're testing those for some folks right now. So it has access to what is, not what works. And this is a very specific example of what AI folks call the alignment problem. How do we make sure that AI and machine learning's goals are the same as our goals? And that's what people talk about when they talk about Terminator and Skynet scenarios and opening the pod bay doors and all of those sorts of things. Are their goals aligned with us? But for this, it's a microcosm to say, hey, if they don't have the data on what works, they're not going to be able to tell you effectively what's going to work. Now, that also means that part of the holy grail of this is, can you have an AI ML system that knows the results, that helps generate the letter, and that learns what an effective letter, what an effective ad, those sorts of things are. So that's what we're working on. Any questions on that? So some more AI features here. This was a member of our marketing team brought this up, and I thought it was a really good, succinct way of how to phrase a prompt for something like a ChatGPT. Who is the persona that you're asking the AI ML to do, to replicate the generative AI? What is you're trying to do? What constraints do you have on that? What tone do you want? Who's the audience? And what is the context? And you look at this and you say, wow, this is the same way I create a creative brief. You know, if you went to a bunch of human creatives and said, write me a blog post, and didn't tell them who's the audience, how long should it be, what should the tone be, they would not bring you back an effective solution, or at least not the one that you thought you wanted. So interesting that those things are crossing over. And then Connor Grennan, the Dean of Students for NYU Stern School of Business, took this, simulate the persona, who are you supposed to be, one step further, and he uses what he calls the wizard prompt. And so what he does is he asked the system to generate a bunch of ideas for employee engagement. And then he prompts and says, I know you can do better than that. Take some magic pills that make you a better consultant and come up with better ideas. And then he follows that up with and says, okay, now a guru just walked in. You're that guru, tell me about it. And with each layer, he's telling, in this case, ChatGPT, you're a better and better person at this. And that engages new ideas with the whole idea of you have the most letter that ever lettered.
Yeah.
The same thing happens here. If you ask it for the 3 ideas for employee engagement, it's going to give you the 3 most basic ideas. But then if you say go to the next level, it has those gears and can go beyond the most predictable to some of the more interesting ones. Tool I just started using is a Chrome extension called YouTube and Article Summary powered by ChatGPT. The brand marketer in me is pained by this title of the extension. I mean, it does what it says on the can, but not exactly the most catchy thing that you have here. But what you can do is then go into any YouTube video or any blog post or those sorts of things. And I did it for our Metrics That Matter webinar. It will automatically create a transcript for you over on the side. And then you hit this ChatGPT looking button and it will automatically generate the prompt to say, give me 5 bullet points on this. And these are pretty basic bullet points. Dashboards are good. Building effective dashboards require data organization. But this is a very quick summary of the presentation. Can be used for things like, well, how do I describe this when I put it into YouTube? Those sorts of things. LinkedIn has created a new generative AI part of its advertising campaign. So you can see that this person's put in introductory texts, and below that, so LinkedIn is part of Microsoft, so they have access to ChatGPT and Bing AI, and it's saying, oh, here are some additional texts that you might want to consider, some other things that people are doing. This, unlike having you create your ad copy, LinkedIn is going to know what an effective LinkedIn ad is. And so this is exciting because it's going to be recommending, it wants you to have clicks as much as you want to have clicks, because that's how they get paid. And so I'm excited by how that is going to go. On the flip side, Google and Microsoft have both put generative ads next to generative results. And those who have been on these calls and have them committed to memory, I know there are none of you. I barely remember them sometimes. But like 1.5 years ago, we talked about how some nonprofits were unintentionally funding election misinformation and vaccine misinformation because the automatic ad placement was putting them next to, George Soros has put a microchip in the COVID vaccine, so don't take it type articles. Using those negative keywords, using those I don't want to be featured on those sorts of sites is an important part of this. If Google and Microsoft aren't going to turn that on, you could be next to whatever chat happens at that point. And it's like having your billboard in a bad neighborhood. That said, there's also possibility in this. If someone says, what is a great charity to give to? You want your ad next to that. And so it's probable that this generative AI experience is going to function a lot like search engine ads. You are next to whatever this person searched for. And if you want to learn more about this, Google has just created a no-cost skill badge. Google has a lot of these sorts of badges to learn about various things. I know I've actually gone in and gotten certified on a couple of things through Coursera, which is a nice platform, but this is a no-cost one, and it is learning about what generative AI is, what is the difference between AI and machine learning. Machine learning is a subset of AI. When we say generative AI, what are we talking about? We're talking about this sort of AI that generates creative work, essentially. And so free, good class there. I'm about 20 minutes into it, and then life happened and I had to step away. So can't wholeheartedly recommend it, but the first 20 minutes are good. Not a great movie recommendation either, but interesting that they are putting this out there. Any questions on any of that AI part of things? And I'll again give my pitch. Would love to hear from you what you want to hear about more in these presentations. So this was a request of an attendee and want to make sure that we're fulfilling those requests. And it also gives us ideas for what sorts of webinars should we do, what sorts of white papers should we write, all of those sorts of things. And now the ever popular potpourri section, some people call it the nonsense section, which I do occasionally, some of it. YouTube is now going to be offering unskippable 30-second ads on connected TV. This is interesting on a number of different levels. The first one is there's going to be more connected TV inventory, which help put some downward pressure on prices. Probably not enough to offset that, hey, more people are interested in connected TV because it's effective, but downward pressure is downward pressure, and I like that. But the other interesting part for me in particular is YouTube just bought the rights to broadcast NFL games from the NFL. Something like, let me see, I think I'd have it there. NFL games were 82 of the 100 most watched events last year. And so there's going to be viewership attached to it. I watch NFL games, but I don't drink alcohol and I don't need a pickup truck. And so about 92% of the ads are wasted on me. I'm excited that connected TV may make ads more relevant for me. And as a marketer, I'm super excited that it opens up connected TV to potentially a wider audience of people that you may be able to get there. Now, it's unskippable. You'll have the same problem that you have in linear TV. That's the point at which people will get up and go to the bathroom. But it's only the same problem that there is in linear TV. You're not going to have the skip button that you do on normal YouTube ads. So extra inventory, high value content that they're going for, and they're investing in more and more content. There are those brand safety implications that we talked about with AI, where you're going to want to say, I don't want to appear next to this type of programming, this type of video, that sort of thing, which you're probably already doing in digital advertising. This is just a reminder of that. Maryland, this gets in because it is a nonprofit ad for the 200th anniversary of the War of 1812. And Francis Scott Key, the writing of the Star Spangled Banner, put starspangled200.org at the bottom of their license plates. They had it on their license plates for about 4 years. They did not renew their URL, forgetting that this is on 800,000 Maryland license plates. And so a site called globalinternational.info, which is a front page for a Philippines betting site, bought the URL and is redirecting it to their blinking bikini clad ads for the Philippine betting market. So remember, renew your URLs, folks. The moment you've been waiting for is here. Tetris has finally been ported over to a Chicken McNugget in a cross-marketing with McDonald's in China. It's been on 60 different platforms before, so I guess you can say 61 will be Chicken McNugget. Then finally, if you go to the webinars page on our website, our EdgeDirect division folks are putting on a Right Audience, Right Message, Right Channel webinar in September, looking to talk about how do you develop personas? How do you identify new audiences? How do you use this in that omni-channel framework? So hopefully a really good session. I'm excited to see it and hope to see you there as well.